Ms. Bennett, the committee has asked for and not received any substantiation, including dissertation, grades, documents from a university showing this alleged PhD. We have a valid whistleblower and substantiation from the French government that she does not have the degree from the Sorbonne that she says she has. Now, you've refused to answer. You're saying that you'll let the reports speak for themselves. So on behalf of the full committee chairman, I'm just simply going to make sure that on the record, this committee believes that you have rehired somebody who lied about their degree and they've been reinstituted as somebody over the control of others in a position of authority. Now, that's not an HR statement. That is, in fact, a management statement pursuant to this committee's oversight and pursuant to what we do when we have whistleblowers report false allegations. Until or unless you find a way to change that, on behalf of the chairman and on behalf of myself, we will still stand feeling that you have not righted the ship. If you can find an explanation showing why you believe she should be rehired because her claim was not false, or that you are perfectly happy to have somebody who has lied, but they're pretty good at other things, then say so to the committee. And until you do so, that's where the record is going to be, since you refuse to answer. Now, as to Carol Gunsberg, her title, which I already put in the record, is the Associate Editor of News Standards and Best Practices. That's not somebody just sending something around. That's somebody with the authority to say how things should be done and to interpret what best practices are. Is that not true, ma'am?
At the time, she was the acting in that position, and she was interpreting on her own behalf.
Ma'am, she had the title. Acting gives her the title and the power. So my question to you is, wouldn't you have to agree that when someone sends something around and they have the title that says they, in fact, are the interpreter and the boss when it comes to news standards and best practices, that that's not just, as you said, somebody sending something around, that's management making a statement telling people not to use Hamas terrorist, except in quotations. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Sir, she interpreted the best practices information, which is readily available to everyone.
We went through a great deal.
It was a loose interpretation. It was immediately reinterpreted by management, and we were
When did that reinterpretation occur? It did not occur on the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or all the way through the 20th. When did it occur?
Sir, unfortunately, this was done at Voice of America before Mr. Abramowitz's tenure there, so it was not done under his direct supervision, so we'd have to go back and look, but I was made aware of the time that there was a reinterpretation and a re-encouragement that people look to the best practices guide, which is readily available to every employee of USAGM.
So, in the intervening 2 months, one of the things that happened is I met with the acting head of it, and through a whistleblower discovered that they went back and mocked the meeting and our idea that we would question whether that was best practice. So once again, for the record, it was more than 2 months. We are here because we do provide authorization and ultimately appropriation of an amount that over the years has been many billions of dollars. I believe in your organization, and I believe that the hardworking men and women, many of whom aren't Americans, they're across the globe, and they're operating, trying to bring the truth to people. I would ask all of you, and I know I didn't ask all of you questions here today, I'd ask all of you to go back and ask the question. We don't want you to be propaganda. We do know that people take great risk. But we also know that the voice of America and its other namesakes are in fact supposed to be the voice of an American position of liberty, an American position that promotes the human side of freedom. And it's not completely without a bias. it by definition does have the American bias. It does have the bias of the free world. That's what we did. That's what we sent over the Berlin Wall and throughout the Iron Curtain for generations. And so I'd ask you to please take a good look, because the term best practices for gentlemen, including Mr. Kapos, the definition that exists at CNN versus Fox, neither one of those definitions work. And the definition at the Washington Post and the definition at the New York Times, quite candidly, when we contrast them, they're not looking at the same book. So your definition has to be consistent with a mandate that comes from Congress and a tradition that I think everyone on both sides of the aisle here today can be supportive of. And I know I've been tough on you, and I'm doing this on behalf of the chairman of the subcommittee, but I'm also doing this because I believe in your organization. And I would hope that this hearing isn't just one of those things you slough off and say, oh, that was good, we got it done. But you actually ask the question of, couldn't we do better than saying we have best practices, and say, you know what, we have uniquely the type of practices we're proud to come before Congress and show them what we do. And please continue using your AI to sort of figure out whether you have some level of consistency over so many languages.